rips it to third, and he's got it. And this is the end of the game. The Diamondbacks take game 2. Huge win for the Diamondbacks here tonight. Absolutely massive win. Heartbreaker last night for the Diamondbacks. Heartbreaker. And to me, for them to come out here tonight, respond the way they did, they have just shown they're absolutely in this series. I mean, they showed all the way up until the bottom of the ninth last night that they were in this series. And unfortunately, you got beat by the big bats of Corey Seager and Adolis Garcia. Those are two big bats at the end of the day. They're game-changing kind of bats. So the Diamondbacks, they were in this up until that point, and I think it's good that they came out here today. They made a statement win saying, hey, you know what? We slipped up last night, but we're back in this thing. We're good to go. And I think this shows that this is going to be a long series. I think this is going to go a full 7 games. I did go with the Rangers in 7 games, but the way this Diamondbacks team plays, the way they just responded tonight, I mean, that to me is just a huge statement win. We already know the Diamondbacks are a hard team to put away. They're a tough team to put away. They have had so many comeback wins this year. They just keep fighting until the end. Yeah, sure, they didn't close it out last night. You had your guy on the mound in Paul Sewald, but hey, in the end, sometimes it just doesn't work out. He made a bad pitch, and Corey Seager, as hey, he's a great hitter. He did what he did. He did what he's got to do. He made the game-changing swing. So, but the Diamondbacks here, lots of game-changing swings here tonight. Lots of runs on the board. But actually, I know we're looking at a 9-1 final right now. But to me, I felt like this game was never really close, personally. It just never felt that way. It never really felt like the Rangers were in it. And the big reason for that was Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly, absolutely fantastic start tonight. This is the start that Merrill Kelly needed to have tonight. Why? 2 reasons. Because Merrill Kelly the bullpen last night, definitely getting used up a bit, right? Paul Sewald unable to come through, having to kind of go through a few of their main relievers. And Kelly coming in here the way he did, 7 strong innings tonight, only the 1 earned to the home run and the 9 strikeouts. Merrill Kelly looked amazing here. This is exactly what the Diamondbacks needed. They needed a big-time start from Kelly, and this is a guy I'm super happy for the guy because, Merrill Kelly, to me, this is a guy where when I see him in the coming into this postseason, I'm thinking, all right, I could see like a 4 or 5 inning kind of a guy in the postseason, but which he kind of was for the most part, but then coming in here, he completely changed the game. All right, 7 strong innings from Merrill Kelly. This is exactly what you needed. Help that bullpen out. That got used a bit last night. And hey, this is a big-time performance for him and on the big stage. And, I'm still hearing Phillies fans out there coming after Merrill Kelly with the comments that he made about, the World Baseball Classic being louder than Philly, or at least, equal volume there. And people were coming after him. And hey, Merrill Kelly, he's just showing here he can handle the big stage and then some. This stuff doesn't faze him, man. And he just had an amazing performance here tonight. And but the offense also coming through. And I think the big thing for the offense tonight was, remember, they really added on the runs late. They kind of padded their lead there at the end. But this was a closer game, going into like the 6th inning. It was a 2-1 game at that point. I think for the Diamondbacks, sure, it took a few innings to get the scoring going, but they never let the moment get to them. They just didn't force things out there. They just never tried to force anything, and I could see a lot of teams where, going through the heartbreak that the Diamondbacks did last night, where maybe they do try to force things. Maybe they do try to, set the tone early on, come out aggressive. But, the Diamondbacks, they just let the game come to them. They got the 2 runs there in the 4th, a couple of big swings from them. And in the end, they just felt better and better and better as the game went on, right? And then obviously we saw what happened in the 7th, the 8th, and 9th, just absolutely scoring all the runs. 16 hits for them tonight. What a performance for the Diamondbacks overall. Great offense, great pitching. I remember, someone by the name of John Madden said at one point, hey, it just works out when you score more and you don't let the opponent score more than you, right? And at the end of the day, the Diamondbacks did that wonderful tonight. So we're going to get into the post game here. We're going to get into kind of the nitty gritty, but Chess Red Eagle, I do want to talk about your super chat. $5 from you. Thank you so much. Felt like game 3, Bogey sensed we probably weren't going to get going, so he sends the B and C team relievers out there to die and reset with a tie. And yeah, the Rangers, they went through their guys last night too. Evaldi wasn't as sharp, and and in the end, Bochy's kind of one of those guys. It seems like he almost just knows when the game is just gone, right? And of course, the game was close there, so he wasn't obviously just going with his least reliable guys, right? It's still a very close game at that point, but obviously towards the end, yeah. So. But in the end, I don't think this really means much for the Rangers' chances in this series. I just think this means that we're going to see a battle here. I think this goes 7 games. No matter who wins this thing, I do think it probably goes 7. That's just the way I feel about it. I think a lot of people were going Rangers early on. But this Diamondbacks team is tough. I talked last night where great base running, right? They get the bat on the ball extremely well. One of the highest contact percentages this year for them. They just do extremely well on the bases. A lot of that is Corbin Carroll at the end of the day, but it's not just him. They have a lot of other guys that are smart base runners. They're just a smart team, right? Sure, 84 wins this year. That's not very, reflective of, a great team. But the Diamondbacks are absolutely making this work. So you got to love it, man. You got to love it. You got to love what the Diamondbacks did here. Chess Red Eagle, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. And let's get to it. And also, sad day. Matthew Perry, rest in peace. If you didn't hear the news, Matthew Perry has passed away. Big star on the show Friends. It wasn't my favorite show of all time, but hey, that's a bigger name out there, man. And just, man, rest in peace. Condolences to his family, I do see someone said that in the chat, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. I know it's a baseball show. But anyway, let's get to it here. So let's talk about Merrill Kelly. And an amazing performance here for him tonight. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, a ton of strikeouts for him tonight, 9 on the night. And the big thing for him, though, the key for Merrill Kelly was just simply throwing a ton of strikes here tonight. This guy gave up no walks tonight. Only 1 3-ball count for him on the night. That is just amazing. My goodness. This guy just never, ever fell behind. What I loved about his performance, two things I like about his performance here tonight. Look at all the different pitches that he was throwing here tonight. Leading with the changeup of all things. Wasn't even leading with the fastball or the sinker. And this is a guy that gets a ton of ground balls. He just had this Rangers offense completely diced up tonight. Looking at the changeups here, throwing, leading the way with 22, but then he went with the cutter, fastball, sinker, slider, and a few curveballs as well. Look at all the different pitches he was throwing tonight. I think that's a really smart game plan. And the fact that he had all of his pitches really working tonight, that's going to be tough for any offense out there to beat. You could even go Murderers Row Yankees. I think Merrill Kelly would have sat them down as well. But what I also liked about Merrill Kelly's performance tonight is he was working all over the zone, right? He was really working the edges of the zone as well. Inside, outside, bottom of the zone, coming up high a little bit. But he was never keeping anything in the heart of the zone. He was really working those edges a lot. And when you combine that with all of the different pitches that he was throwing strikes, just really getting ahead of the hitters, there's no way Merrill Kelly was going to get beat tonight, man. And all the credit goes to him because he just let the offense do, he gave them all the time they needed to really get this going, and they just busted it out in the end. But again, they really needed this performance from him tonight after, using a good amount of their bullpen last night. So MVP for me tonight, sure, 9 runs on the board for the Diamondbacks, but Merrill Kelly, absolute star here tonight. This is a star-making performance in a World Series. If the Diamondbacks end up winning this World Series, you're going to look back at this Game 2 start and say, man, remember when Merrill Kelly just went out there and just dominated that Rangers lineup that just won on a walk-off the night prior? So all the credit here for Merrill Kelly on the night. So Getting to the rest of the action here, and of course, hey, there was a lot of offense for the Diamondbacks as well. 9 runs on the night. It got started. Gabriel Moreno, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. getting it started. Moreno with the home run back in the 4th. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. with the RBI base hit that made it 2-0 there. Blue Jays fans are crying themselves to sleep every single night that Gabriel Moreno is doing something in this series. And yeah, I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm going to keep bringing it up. Well, yeah, there's a little bit of giraffe neck Robbie going on there, being a Red Sox fan, because I just love to see it. I mean, I'm just saying, hey, we were down bad pretty much all year. Hey, I got to take my shots while I have it. But jokes aside, this trade is looking really good for the Diamondbacks. I think we can all agree on that. But Gabriel Moreno, man, what he is doing in this postseason, sure, has he been, an absolute superstar in this World Series? But no, it just feels like he's come up in just a lot of big spots for them in this postseason, setting the tone, coming up with some big hits when they need them, and just, setting the tone here tonight. Gabriel Moreno is going to be an absolute star. And he is just showing it here on the big stage, getting it started here tonight. And Lourdes Gurriel Jr., in my opinion, he was pretty much the throw-in on that deal. Not a whole ton of value when it came to the trade itself at the time. He provided a bit of a bat there. But, seeing what he's been doing in this postseason, he's been coming up with some spots. And, those two guys, man, it's... Blue Jays fans, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. But there was a lot more. Tommy Pham here tonight. What a great night for Tommy Pham. I'm glad Tommy Pham is getting a chance to shine here. This is a guy who I think has been... I think we all agree that Tommy Pham has always been like a pretty solid player, but I think he really brings more to a team than it looks like on the surface. I think he just brings that confidence to a team, just brings that swagger to a team, and a 4-for-4 night for him on the night, 2 runs scored. I mean, what a great night for Tommy Pham. I mean, good grief. Awesome night. Alek Thomas looked fantastic tonight. And, sure, it doesn't look like the most amazing stat line, 2 for 5 here. But what I think with Alek Thomas is the 2 hits that he got were both really hard hit balls, right? Hard hit ball back in the 3rd for a base hit, but then he just ripped a double in the 7th. I think that's a really good sign for Alek Thomas. I think you could start seeing a bit more of this. He has come up with the big hits in this postseason at times. 871 postseason OPS. I think you're going to keep seeing Thomas here, come up with these kind of nights. A couple of hits. That, to me, he's looking really good right now. Good for Evan Longoria getting his base hit in the 7th inning. That made it 3-1. Nice to see Longoria, coming through. Hasn't really done too much this postseason, but nice to see him chipping in. And then they just pulled away in the end. But a notable part of that with the Diamondbacks pulling away is Ketel Marte had the 2-run base hit, but he now has an 18-game hit streak that goes back to 2017 when they last made the playoffs. An 18-game hit streak that's now the longest hit streak of all time in the postseason. Ketel Marte, I will keep saying this. This year, I picked him as my most underrated player for the Diamondbacks, and I would have him as one of my most underrated players in Major League Baseball this year. So nice seeing Ketel Marte do his thing. One of my favorite players in the game. It's been a bummer seeing Ketel Marte just get injured over the last couple of years. I want Marte to just stay on the field because he is really that good of a player. That 2019 season he had was insane. But overall, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better night from the Diamondbacks. You really couldn't. Let's talk about the Rangers here. Unfortunately, when you have the good, you got to talk about the bad. Well, for the Diamondbacks, hey, Diamondbacks fans are pretty happy with the bad from the Rangers here. But I know Rangers fans, you had a good taste in your mouth last night. Not so much here tonight. But Jordan Montgomery, talking about him. He wasn't terrible tonight. Not a bad night for him, but just not as crisp as we have seen him. Overall, 6 innings. I think that was big for him. Sure, took the loss here. You did have Heaney and Dunning come in. Those are a couple of long relievers, but I think it's good that Montgomery did go 6 in the end. You were able to squeeze out 6 innings. So I think that did save the bullpen a little bit. So, if he had come out sooner, who knows, maybe the Rangers are using a couple other guys. And how about Martin Perez? Red Sox legend in the end. Gotta love Martin Perez, man. When Martin Perez is coming into the game, this game is pretty much over. So no disrespect to Martin Perez, but that's just who he is. But Montgomery, I do think if you could look at a bright side from his start, is he was able to go 6, right? That's way better than getting absolutely smashed through like 3 or 4 innings and you're having to use like maybe another reliever or 2. So, but the problem with Montgomery here tonight is he was just leaving pitches up, and he was just leaving pitches just hanging in the zone, and the Diamondbacks were just ready for some of these pitches. The Gabriel Moreno home run, leaving up here, leaving a pitch up on him. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. early on, leaving something up for him as well. He was going with a bit of a mix, a lot of sinkers, curveballs from Jordan Montgomery for tonight, led the way with the sinker. But when it comes to Jordan Montgomery, we have seen him produce a lot of ground balls, and when you're leaving the sinker up in the zone, that's just such a bad recipe, and the Diamondbacks just jumped all over it. And it wasn't even just the runs that they were scoring off Jordan Montgomery. It was other hits as well. Christian Walker, go back to even when, Josh Young made a really nice play. That ball was ripped down the third base line. Josh Young, what a play for him. That was just a nasty defensive play from Josh Young. Gotta love that. But that was a really hard hit ball. Speaking of Alek Thomas, I just said he had a couple of hard hit balls tonight. One was back in the third off of Montgomery. So, Tommy Pham with the double in the fourth. Alek Thomas, he also had the double off of Montgomery as well. So Montgomery, he was just leaving a lot of stuff up. A lot of stuff was just hittable from him tonight. I just feel like he wasn't going up in the zone enough. And I know that might sound weird because, he is more of a guy that pitches to contact, right? He will get you some strikeouts as well, but I feel like he wasn't really changing the eye levels enough. I mean, if you look down here, he was throwing a lot of balls down, a lot of those curve balls down, but to me, I think what's going to make Jordan Montgomery even more successful is, sure, don't hang some of those pitches in the zone that were just very hittable. But I think, try and change those eye levels a little bit more, all right? Get him a little more off balance, and I think Montgomery could be a bit more successful in his next start. But in the end, honestly, I feel like I've really covered everything at this point. So let's talk about Game 3. We got a tie series here. Everyone, before I do get to Game 3, if you can, hit that like button for me. The like goal for tonight is 50. If you can help us get there, I will be a happy boy, and I will love you forever. We're at 45, so if I can just get 5 more likes, and we'll hit our like goal for the night, and I will be very happy. So, everyone, bell notification if you can. Make sure it's turned on, and you know the rest of the deal. So, let's get to it here. Let's talk about Game 3. Let's talk about Game 3 here. And, I think, honestly, like I said, I think this is going to keep going back and forth. I think we're going to keep seeing just a very entertaining series. I said this coming in, to this series. I was expecting a battle because these are two teams here. Man, the Rangers, they can just kick the crap out of it, but the Diamondbacks, they don't go down without a fight, right? So, looking at the rest of this series, they now have updated this on Fangraphs. They got the Zips projections already updated here, and now there is a slight edge to the Diamondbacks, a 50.2% compared to the 49.8% for the Rangers. Now, I have noticed when it comes to these Zips projections, I almost wonder if they favor the recency bias a little bit, because I've noticed in all of these series, the team that wins the game that just ended and after they've updated everything, it almost seems like the percentage goes in their favor. So they have definitely had their moments where they've been wrong. I think they had the Phillies winning Game 6 with Aaron Nola, so that was one example where they were wrong. But moving on here, we got an interesting start. We got the veteran Max Scherzer and Brandon Pfaadt, the rookie. The youngster versus the veteran. I always love those matchups. I always think they're so entertaining. I'm excited to see this one because Brandon Pfaadt has really shown what he can do in this postseason. People were getting on to Torey Lovullo where he, pulled him sooner in a start. He hadn't really thrown a lot of pitches, but he was looking really dominant in that one start, and then he did look good against the Phillies in the end. Didn't go a really long way, but I think in the end, this is going to be a really solid game 3. And, because you got Font, who has been on top of his game. How deep he goes, I am curious about that, especially with these Rangers bats. You never know. And then on the other side, you got Scherzer, who's really struggling to, get rid of that rust. He's had a couple of starts now. He's had a little bit more time here between his, between his last starts. So I am expecting Scherzer to pitch a bit more decent in this game, going to Arizona. And that's another storyline too. If you don't remember. Max Scherzer was once an Arizona Diamondback, and he is now going to Arizona in a World Series game. I mean, if we go back here, Max Scherzer, let me pull up the baseball reference page, go back to that draft, and Max Scherzer was selected 11th overall in the first round of the 2006 draft by the Arizona Diamondbacks. I always love when things just come full circle. I just love that. And now Scherzer is going back to where it all began in the World Series. I just find that super interesting. I mean, come on. I'm just saying. Oh, DEFCON 2. You can't do that. DEFCON, you can't do that. You can't do the young arm versus the dead arm. No. You can't do that. I hope Scherzer doesn't have a dead arm tomorrow. I would like to see a pitching duel. I think this is so interesting because, you got Fott, who's in his rookie year, coming up this year. I mean, it's like Scherzer is going up against a reflection of his former self. I just love this storyline between these two. I think that's amazing. Combat Jones, a lean 9.45 ERA. Rather crisp, if you ask me. But again, I just love the storyline behind this start. Scherzer going back to where it all began, going up against a rookie pitcher that is looking like he is going to be their next best pitcher, in the next few years. I just love this. I love the storyline behind this start. I think it's great. But for Scherzer, I am expecting a better start. He's looked very rusty since coming back. But, what is that really a surprise? It's not really a surprise. Scherzer missed time, had a shoulder thing, and you're coming back into the postseason. I don't care what name you are. I don't care what you've done in your career. It's what you're doing now. And when it comes to postseason baseball, when these hitters are on top of their game, I'm sorry, it's going to be rough. I'm expecting Scherzer to do better, but I'm not really sure what you're going to get. And with Fott pitching the way he is, going home, to me, I like the Diamondbacks in this next game. I think you got to lean D-backs here, but you never know. Maybe Scherzer has done the work between these games and, maybe he comes out and gives you, maybe 5 or maybe even 6 innings. Who knows? I'm expecting Fott and the Diamondbacks to take game 3, though. I do feel a little bit better about them at home. So we'll just have to wait and see. On that. But right now, we've seen these Rangers bats, they looked, at least they woke up late in the game. Garcia and Seager, sure, they woke up. But the Diamondbacks bats, they just looked really good here today. I'm just expecting them to carry the momentum into Arizona, honestly. So I'm expecting the Diamondbacks to go up 2-1 in Game 3. But who knows? Maybe Max Scherzer, he finds that youth that he had in Arizona. Maybe he kind of taps into that Arizona Max Scherzer. Maybe his arm just becomes alive like it was when he was young. I don't know. Probably not. I'm coming up with just these weird fantasy scenarios in my head, and I'm going to stop talking now. Everyone, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to wrap this up. Didn't want to go too long here tonight. I know you're all having your Saturday night, but everyone, if you can, don't forget about the video that I just posted a little earlier. I know it has nothing to do with the World Series, but I got 5 Juan Soto trade ideas. Go check that out if you haven't already. If you can, go leave a comment on it. Let me know your thoughts about the trades that I came up with. Leave a like. Let's try and get this pushed out into the algorithm. It's a little tough during postseason baseball time. Everyone's kind of focusing on World Series, or they're, baseball fans are generally just checked out. So if you can help push this out into the algorithm a little bit more, I would greatly appreciate you. And don't forget about our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, your number one spot for all your daily fantasy needs. The link is in the description down below. The code is HIDE, gives you a double on your first deposit up to $100. Not a bad deal if you ask me. But we don't have any baseball tomorrow, everyone. No baseball tomorrow. No game tomorrow, but you got a full day of NFL. I know this is a baseball channel at the end of the day, so go make some pick'ems tomorrow. We got a full slate of games here. We got Vikings. We got the Packers. What other games we got on here tomorrow? We got the Rams and the Cowboys tomorrow. I'm just saying, got some juicy picks in there. You got, what else you got? What other games? You got the Jaguars and the Pirates here tomorrow. The Steelers. I'm still in baseball mode. But you can also do daily drafts as well. So go draft a team for tomorrow and go see if you can win yourself a few bucks. But also, make sure you play responsibly. That is the most important thing at the end of the day. Again, code is HYDE. Link is in the description down below. Everyone, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to wrap this up. Again, if you can, hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you are new. Hit the bell notification on your way out. Share the show. And everyone, thank you for stopping by. Have yourself a great night. And I'll talk to you next time.